Hello, buddy. Welcome back. I'm the Strategy Professor. Today we're just going to go over the patch notes really quickly for 9.18. Sorry this is a couple of days late. Some new content dropped for Total War, and I had to cover that, and I had a bunch of school stuff going on over the past couple of days, but we'll go ahead and bring this in for you. Excuse me. I don't think it's going to matter that much for solo queue with a couple of exceptions, but let's go ahead and get in here real quick, and then I'm also going to do the tier list today for support and AD carry, so be sure to watch out for those as well, and then I'm going to try to get a couple of other roles maybe by tomorrow as well. Okay, here we go. Aatrox heals for 25% of damage dealt to minions, so that's a lot less healing. And then now that's... Now it says minions, not monsters, though. I don't think people have been playing him in the jungle as much. And then damage to minions Q is 40% at all levels. Now, does he already have... Let me just look here real quick. Does it already do, like, reduce damage to monsters? Okay. This is reduced by 2 seconds whenever he hits a champion or large monster with a basic attack or ability. Doubled if he hits with the Age of Darkened Blade. Okay. Okay, this and this. On hit. Okay. Double to 0.5 against monsters. Okay. Okay, so it looks like it would still heal for the full amount to monsters. Bonus physical damage on hit, capped at 100 against monsters. Healing him for 100% bonus physical damage dealt, 25% to minions. Okay, so this doesn't affect jungle Aatrox, which I haven't seen a ton of lately, but I know it was kind of hot for a little bit. So maybe jungle Aatrox is still possibly a thing. This also does not affect jungle, 40% at all levels. So basically, yeah, he's going to have a lot less sustain. He's going to be able to get poked out by a lot of other champs in the laning phase, and he has much worse wave clear, especially later on. So that might force him to get stuff like Tiamat if he wants to clear, and I don't think that's a standard item on him. I think a lot of people like to go like Cleaver, Death's Dance kind of builds. So this might force him into going Cleaver, which would obviously be pretty rough, I think. I mean, it's not like he'd be terrible with it, but that was one thing that sort of set him apart from a lot of these other bruisers top lane, or whatever you want to call him, bruiser, fighter, off-tank kind of things that deal a ton of damage. Like your Aurelias, your Fioras, you know, those types of champs. Is that he had, like, really good AoE, like, wave clear without having to get an item for it. So they're trying to dial that back a little bit. Obviously, this is going to hurt him quite a bit, but I already think he's not that great in solo queue, you know, especially after he lost his revive. Yes, he does have, you know, a lot of healing, but there's so much, there are so many ignites running around and Morellonomicons, and there's all sorts of grievous wounds things. So I don't think it's going to matter that much for solo queue. I mean, he might drop a couple of percentage points. Was he even like that? Let me see. I feel like he's not even that oppressive in pro, was he? Yeah, I mean, I guess he had 85% presence. So he did have the most presence of anything. Now that's all, though. Let me see the game version. So this is just in the last, like, week or so. I mean, okay, yeah, he had... Is this all regions? Okay, that's not a very big sample size. Let's look at 916. Okay. So in 916, yes, he had the biggest presence at 95% pick or ban rate, but he only had a 43% win rate over 88 games. Like, I mean, you can see why Xayah got nerfed. She had a 61% win rate. But it's like, dude only has like 43% win rate. Even in like the best spreads that we just looked at, he was like 50%. I don't know. He's popular, but I never really personally feel like, oh my god, that champion's OP. Like, maybe at the beginning of the season before they nerfed him a ton, but I think that, I don't know. I think it's a little unnecessary, but it is what it is. It'll definitely hurt him a lot for pro. If people do play him, I suspect maybe in the jungle would be the only place you'd find him. I just think there are going to be better options. Okay. Akali. Now, this champion feels like she got blasted, but I still, like... last night when I was playing, or maybe the night before, a couple of times in solo queue, I played against an Akali, and she still got out to a huge lead, and she was still deleting people even after these nerfs. I thought this was going to be a nail in the coffin. Like, I didn't think there's any way Akali was coming back from this, but she still got a 48% win rate. You know, and that's not bad considering how high of a skill cap she is when you look at some of these other champs that are kind of similar to her. Where's, like, Qiyana, like, Rise and things like that. Let me see. Okay, there she is. Yeah, Qiyana's like 48%. So I think that's pretty reasonable for someone that's as hard to execute as Akali is. So I don't know. And then she in pro also was 47%. So I don't know. I think she's fun to watch. I think she's fun to play. I think that, well, I've never played her, but I imagine she's fun to play. She's good, but I feel like there are other champs, especially in solo queue, that are way worse and in pro, or way more dangerous. And in pro, she does not have that high of a win rate. So, okay. But, like, this is extreme. Like, you would think these kind of nerfs would be for a champion that has, like, a 55% win rate or higher and, like, massive presence in pro and in solo queue. I mean, these are big. Like, she no longer stuns for 0.5 seconds, and that's huge because she doesn't have any way to stop teleport now. So if someone tries to teleport to another lane, that's a problem. Or if it's something that, like, channels an ability, like Katarina or... that's a little more rare. Like, just channeled stuff, obviously, she can't stop it. But the big one's teleport. She doesn't have any way to stop a teleport now. So, that's a huge problem. Especially in solo queue, if someone tries to take Ignite with Akali top, which is pretty common. Because Assassins, you know, they really need to snowball early. And so, a lot of times, they do want to take Ignite. And so, that's going to be really rough if you're, you know, the enemy TP's down to bot and you can't stop them. And then, 60 damage off level 1, your R2 max damage is pretty massive. And then the cooldown on her ult by 40 seconds at early level. So she's a lot worse in the early game. I think it was unnecessary. I think she's probably going to be a lot worse. I mean, all three of these are massive. So, you know, I would think she's going to go down 2 or 3%, but she's holding up so far the first few days. But yeah. Gonna be, like, Akali is still not great in solo queue. She's okay if you're really good on her. But definitely gonna be worse. In pro, I don't know. I think people will probably play other stuff. I mean, they might still play her. Maybe, like, people try to rotate over to something like Sylas more. I know there had been some people looking at, like, Renekton, Syndra, you know. They'll probably rotate over to something, maybe Qiyana a little bit more. Now, Qiyana has a 59% win rate, even through those nerfs. So, Qiyana, 59%, let's leave her alone this patch. Akali, 47%, let's get her, you know. And Kiana's high presence, too. I mean, anyways. So, I think that's a little harsh on both of these. But, you know, they have been really popular for, like, the last year. And they probably just don't want them running the show at Worlds again. Because people will complain, oh, it's the same champions as last year and all that stuff. So they're probably just trying to go, like, super hard on them here. Okay, Annie gains extra movement speed, shield reduction, and then the cooldown. So LS was talking about this, and he thought it was a really, like, good thing, a good change. He said the damage reduction doesn't matter. But the thing is, like, it kind of does, because she doesn't have a lot of protection, especially if she's against an assassin, you know, like a Zed, a Talon, Qiyana, Akali, something like that. Like, she needs to not get one shot. If she can, like, live for that extra little bit and get all of her rotation off, then she might be able to kill him. So, I think it actually hurts pretty badly to lose that 6% damage reduction. And then it's going to take you longer to charge up to get your 4th stun, because that's pretty much a lot of the reason why you use Molten Shield is to charge up your stun. I mean, use your Q as well, but I don't know. It's okay. You do gain a little bit of extra movement speed, but it does decay pretty quickly. So, I don't know. I don't think it's going to change Annie in the meta that much. I played against her bottom. We smashed her. Like, her thing is she does okay. You know, like, she kind of has this power curve where she's super weak. And this is a lot of champions that people try out in the bottom that just end up not working out that well a lot of times is she's super weak in the laning phase. All she can do is basically throw a fireball. She can keep her stun up, which is threatening. So that's good, but she can, like, get some auto attacks in. And then at level 6, obviously, she's going to be really strong. But then if she doesn't snowball really hard, she just doesn't do very much other than her Tibber stunning. She has no other utility. If she gets caught out, she's going to get blown up. And if the enemy support just gets some magic resist, then they can engage on you. A lot of the really popular supports, you know, your Leonas, your Pyke, your Nautilus, your Rakan, all of them can engage on you if they have a good chunk of magic resist, just like some Merc Treads, Null Magic Mantle, and they took some magic resist runes or something like that. You're not going to be able to one-shot them. They're going to force you to blow all your stuff on them, and then the other people are just going to kill you. So, I don't know. I just feel like she's really close range, too. Like, most of her spells are, like, 600 range. So, she's just super dangerous, super risky. I just don't think you're going to see her a lot. Maybe as a counter pick to, like, Ahri or something mid lane, or just some other, like, super highly mobile champ that's squishy. That just doesn't blow you up immediately. But, realistically, I just don't think it's going to matter. Okay, Aurelion Sol, pretty bad champ. Everyone hates those changes that they made. He does get 65 health, so that definitely is relevant. But, I mean, he's still at 52%. There's a lot of complaining and gnashing of teeth about these changes. Honestly, have not seen him in action, and I never play him. So it's tough for me to say. A lot of people did not like the changes. I thought they looked bad. But statistically, he's still holding in there at 52%. So maybe it's not as bad as I think. So maybe the 65 will matter. I just don't know. I don't think it's going to change his position in the meta, though. I still think he's going to be a really weird pick that basically only one tricks play. Caitlyn, 2 AD. Thank God. I mean, this is the buff we've all been looking for, I think, you know? So that now Caitlyn can properly execute. It's amazing. Like, it's not even 3 AD anymore. They're just trying to see how little they can change to troll people. Pretty much. It's not even the famous Graves 3 AD. It's 2 AD now on Caitlyn. It does not matter. I mean, you know, you'll have people saying, but look, she has a long auto attack range. She has good AD ratios on her Q and blah, blah, blah. I'm like, okay, so what? She lands 20 auto attacks in the laning phase. That's an extra 40 damage that's going to get mitigated by, and that's a lot of auto attacks. Like, if your Caitlyn's are anything like mine, and like Platinum and lower, they're not auto attacking the enemy that much. So even saying 20, 20 auto attacks in between backs, I don't think that that's going to happen most of the time. It's probably closer to 10 auto attacks on the enemy before you both back and reset your health. So, we're talking like maybe 20 more damage, maybe. Yeah, it's not going to matter. Like, but at the same time, I don't think Caitlyn's terrible on paper right now. I just think that people don't play her well, and I think it's because you have a lot of casual people playing Caitlyn, and there aren't many one-tricks that play Caitlyn. I think that's what it comes down to. And she really needs to almost be a one-trick type of champion because she's actually a combo mage, really, more so than an AD carry because her attack speed is really slow, and so she just does not scale very well. You do not want to just sit there and trade auto attacks with people. You have to be very precise and go for, like, short bursts and then go for kind of the all-in at one point. And pretty much you have to get the combos with your headshots. Like, that's the only way you're doing a reasonable amount of damage. Until you get to, like, 4 or 5 items, which the game's over by then in this meta. So, yeah. I mean, you got to get those traps down. You got to, not... And when you land the trap, when they do step on it, it can't just be an auto attack and that's it. That's what so many Caitlyn's do. It needs to be at a bare minimum, if there's traffic, a Q plus an auto, because your Q does full damage to someone who's been trapped, even if it goes through minions. So it does a lot more damage than people think it does. And the headshot thing sticks around for a little bit after they get out of the trap. Like, you can hit them with the Q, and then they walk out of the trap, and then you still have a chance to get your headshot. So many people just do the headshot if they step on a trap. But it needs to be Q plus headshot. If you're really on point, and there's not traffic in the way, you need to... This is another combo. You headshot first, then you net backwards. While you're netting backwards, then you start your Q for the animation. The Q goes through, and then you headshot him again. That's what really, like, Diamond Plus, you know, high-level Caitlyn's, who actually play the champion a lot, can do that fairly regularly. So she's just very tricky. You got to sneak in those autos. You got to have really good trap placement. You got to use that net properly. You got to get your combos down. And a lot of people just play her because she's long range, she's safe, she pushes, and that's it. And they don't really try to make any plays on the enemy. And she gets outscaled by, like, Jinx or, you know, most other AD carries. So she's okay, but I don't think this fixes it. I think just fundamentally people don't understand how to play her correctly. People who don't practice her a lot. Because a lot of people think she's just a brainless long-range champ, but it's really not the case. If you want that, play Jinx. No hate. I'm just saying, Jinx is a lot more straightforward. It's like, okay, you have range, you just auto-attack people a lot with your rockets and they die. Because Jinx has really good scaling with her attack speed and with her abilities and all that. Jinx is just a much simpler Caitlyn. So yeah, just play Jinx. If you're auto-filled or you're just trying out AD carry and you don't want to commit a lot of time to learning Caitlyn, just play Jinx. Okay, Ekko. So this is a pretty big buff for Ekko. I think Ekko hasn't really been that bad. He's just kind of like undercover, like sleeper. I don't think he was OP, but I think he was playable. Like, he was pretty good. I think. I mean, what is he, like 48% or something? He's actually way higher than I expected. Has that gone up recently? The last couple of days? That buff? His pick rate went up a decent chunk. His win rate's pretty steady, though. That's more than I thought, because he's pretty hard to play. Like, I think of him almost like an Akali. Like, not quite as hard to play as Akali, but sort of like that. And so, those type of champs, you would expect to be about 48%. Or at least I would. So, anyways. I mean, he's pretty good. Like, he's got decent wave clear with his Q. He's got some protection. He has a lot of really high AP ratios, and now he has a very big stun. Pull him up here. So I think a lot of people forget about this champ. Now, you're going to need to practice him if you want to play him. Some people have also thought about him potentially being in the jungle, but I don't know about that. Maybe. But yeah, he does get, when he gets all of his stacks up on something, it does an extra burst damage. Look at this ratio on this thing. At 3 stacks, this is consumed to deal this much magic damage, doubled to this versus monsters. So 160% of your AP versus monsters. But even against, and that's monsters, not minions. So that is for jungling. But yeah, 0.8 AP ratio is so strong on a passive. And it's on target. So you can apply this to a bunch of different people. And he gets a ton of extra movement speed. So he gets up to 80% movement speed for 3 seconds. Now notice that does not say decaying either. That's been really popular with current reworks and champions to have decaying movement speed. This is straight up for real, like, actual movement speed for 2.5 seconds, like 50%. So it's really, really good. So yeah, he's very fast. Time Winder, once again, pretty good damage. If you look at total damage here, it's 260 base with a 0.9. Pretty good, and it slows, and it's AoE, and it does not do reduced damage to multiple targets. So it clears waves really quickly once you get a little bit of AP behind it. So that's pretty solid. It ends up being on a decently low cooldown. And then you also have this parallel convergence. Now, this is what got buffed. If someone gets caught in this, they're stunned for 2.25 seconds. That's like a Fiddlestick Sphere or a Lulu Polymorph. It is a long, long time. Long enough to make you want to throw your keyboard through the window. Like, it is a huge, huge stun. And he gets a massive shield whenever he steps into it. So it's a 160 shield with a 150% AP ratio. And his basic attacks do some extra stuff. So it doesn't do a lot of damage by itself, but you're going to be sitting there for a long time for him to do the rest of his combo to you. And then Phase Drive just allows you to blink and kind of dash around a little bit faster. And then Chrono Break, one of his signature moves, does a ton of damage, 150% AP ratio, and basically heals you to full most of the time whenever you do it. So, and that's on a low cooldown. Sorry, I had to take a bite of that. So yeah, I think he's pretty good. Will he be like S tier? Probably not. But I think he's legit. You know, I'd put him maybe tier 2. Maybe. I have to think about it. There are a lot of good champions in the middle and jungle, but I think it certainly has a lot more potential there. That's a huge buff to the stun. Okay, Evelynn. Now, this is one that is meta shaping. This is the one really big one on this patch, I think, that makes a huge difference. And a lot of people have been complaining about Evelynn. I've seen her in my games, and I haven't seen an Evelynn that, like, completely took over, but... yeah, she's still at, like, 50%. But a lot of people have been complaining about her, especially kind of higher elos. At least that's the word on the street. 140% against targets below 30% of their max health. That's massive. And that's a lot of extra damage. And 50 more damage base and 0.3 more ability power. That's crazy. Now, what do they say? Evelynn isn't overly weak and we want her to reliably take down her targets. She managed to get them under the execute threshold. I thought they literally said something about Sejuani here. Was that up here in these descriptions? Maybe that was LS, like, making fun of this. But yeah, like, this is going to allow her to, like, obliterate tanks even at the early game, and Assassins should not be able to do that. So I think this is a bit too much damage for her. People have also pointed out that this does a ton of damage to, like, Baron also. So she basically has something that makes it almost impossible to contest Baron. It's like a Nunu or Cho'Gath-esque type of ability with these kind of numbers, so when she has like a few items. So anyways, I think she's pretty good. She's really annoying. I hope she doesn't get back into the meta because people just don't ward properly for her. It just puts a huge tax on your whole team to try to, you know, change the whole way they get vision to deal with her. But anyways, she'd probably be pretty good. I think she'd probably be like tier 1 or tier 2 jungle. She does clear pretty quickly. She can't really do anything pre-6, or it's hard for her to do it. I mean, she can, but it's not really that great pre-6. But obviously post-6, once she's invisible, once she has her ult, then a lot of opportunities open up. So if you get run over early game by a more early game jungler, or you get invaded, you know, by like Lee Sin, or people aren't playing Xin Zhao now, but just any kind of Jarvan, any kind of like early game bully type of jungler, could be a problem. But if they just let you sit there and power farm to 6, then you definitely have some opportunities to take over. Okay, or if you have like really strong lanes and, you know, your laner baits a good fight and you happen to pick up an early kill or two, she can still be pretty strong. Okay, Jhin, 2 AD. It's troll. It's not going to matter that much. Now, Jhin does have a lot more kind of AD ratios, and he does get a lot of crit, especially early on with his 4th shot and just his itemization. So I think it's a little bit better on Jhin than it is on Caitlyn, but still 2 AD is pretty sad. Kaisa. Okay, so this probably doesn't matter that much. I mean, losing 20% attack speed at the end of the game does matter a little bit, but you max your Q first, so the supercharge is not really going to start kicking in until like levels 9 to 13 when you start maxing out your E. So I think she'll still be fine. She is one of the best AD carries right now. She's so versatile in what she can do. So I think she probably did deserve to get knocked down a little bit. And hitting her mid-game is probably good. She's still going to be super strong late game. She just has so much utility. Like her isolation damage on those missiles and your ability to reposition with the shield just allows you to skirmish even against assassins sometimes. If you can make an outplay on one of their abilities with your R, then you can even 1v1 assassins, which really shouldn't be possible as an AD carry a lot of times. So I think she's pretty strong. Just please go for the Stormrazor build. Do not build that tier crap. It's garbage. Okay? Like, the whole reason so many people don't understand why, like, they just see pros building tier. It's all about how fast you can evolve your Q. Like, that's what it comes down to. Man Immune is 200 or 2,400 gold. You need Man Immune plus Pickaxe, and then you can evolve your Q to have it shoot 10 missiles instead of 6. That's what you do. That's why it's really strong. Sometimes, if you have the right timing, it's good. Whereas, if you go the Stormrazor route, Stormrazor is 3,100 gold, so like 700 more, and you still need a Pickaxe on top of that in order to hit your threshold to evolve your Q. So, the whole theory behind this is, well, if you get Man Immune and then Pickaxe, you can get your Q evolved 5 minutes faster or so, depending on how well you're farming, than if you go Stormrazor. So that sounds really good. The problem is the components for Man Immune and Man Immune itself before it's charged are terrible. So Tear of the Goddess gives you 0 combat effectiveness, nothing. You don't need that mana as Kaisa. Like, you can, yeah, spamming stuff is cool in lane and everything, but it doesn't help you kill people at all. So tier is awful, and then so that's wasted 850 gold, and then you get a pickaxe for 875, and then you have to try to combine both of those for however much it is, like 7 or 800 gold or something like that, in order to get the mana immune. So for your first like 2399 gold of the game, which is a while usually unless you get kills, all you're getting are 25 AD. Like that's it as far as your ultimate like combat effectiveness. So that's it. Like that's all you get that matters in the laning phase is a pickaxe. So you're dramatically overpaying. You are extremely weak. Even when you finish this, excuse me. Even when you finish this, it's only base value is 72% efficient. Okay. At 120 charges, it does become gold efficient. But remember, you're paying a lot for the mana as well. And so, yeah, people like to go the mana immune into Gensu's because every time your Gensu's procs, it will double proc the Mura mana. To deal, like, a lot of extra on-hit damage. So that's cool, but it takes a while to stack up Mura mana. So pretty much you're going to be worthless until, like, 15 to 20 minutes, and then you can kind of start coming online when you get Gensu's. But by contrast, something like Stormrazor is much faster. You know, it's got 60 AD, which obviously she really likes. It's got 30% attack speed, which is really good. And then moving and basic attacking eventually will give you kind of this 50 bonus damage on hit, and will apply a slow to them so that you can kite them or get away from them or whatever you need to do. Now, it's not as amazing as well, but at least it's 91% efficient, not including its 2 passives. So, especially if you want to take Fleet, then Stormrazor can be really good because you're going to gain the extra healing off of that too. You get the 35% extra effectiveness off of that healing. So yeah, Stormrazor's not amazing. Most champions don't take it, but, you know, at the end of the day, it's going to be better than Mura mana, I think. Because, like, you have to take advantage of that 5-minute window. You have to, like, basically, for you to make that build work, you have to build pickaxe. You have to back immediately when you have pickaxe mana, and you have to push them in, force them to back. Okay, then you come back with pickaxe, they come back to lane with a pickaxe, or like double longsword or something like that. And then you hold them in the lane the entire time until you get your Mura mana. So you have to hold them in the lane, not let them back, you know, for the next, I don't know, 8 to 10 minutes. And then you get your Mura mana at the same time they're going to have BF sword and pickaxe. And that will be about as fair as you're going to get it. And depending on the champion, the BF sword plus pickaxe is still going to be stronger than your Mura mana. Okay? And then you're still going to need an additional pickaxe before you can evolve and get your Q evolved, and that's when you can actually do something. But that is so technical. It is so difficult to do. It's so predicated on you managing the lane properly, your support helping you manage it properly, you not getting ganked, your jungler covering it for you. Because what happens a lot of time, people don't manage the lane properly. And then the enemy gets to back, they get a BF sword, they come back with a BF, and then you come back with a pickaxe, and then you're screwed. Basically, even worse is if you come back with tier and they have BF sword, then it's just like, it's done. But even if you come back with pickaxe, they have BF sword, they're going to have a huge advantage on you, because now, you know, you're not going to get anything extra for combat for 1,600 gold, and they're going to still be able to go back and get pickaxes and daggers and all of this other stuff that's going to be helpful. Long swords, depending on the champion and the build. So that tier just really sucks unless you manage it properly. And that's partially why a lot of pros take teleport, so that you can try to get really good back timings and force them to back at the same time. So it's just very technical to make that work. It's very difficult. You have to understand momentum a lot. Your whole team has to cooperate with you on it. Whereas Stormrazor, you get to come back, match them with the BF sword. They get a BF, you get a BF. You know, they come back with something else. You get longsword, Kerchai shard. Like, this is all just much easier to build, and it's all actually useful in the laning phase. You don't have to waste 850 gold. So, please do that build. But anyways, that's just my little PSA for Xayah. Oh, I don't know why I clicked on that. Anyways, she'll still be good. Okay, Kayle. Probably not going to matter. I don't know. I feel like the nerfs to Kayle were pretty extreme. I feel like she's not that good right now. But to be fair, I haven't seen her a lot. Maybe, like, she is way better in the early game. I guess her win rate is up quite a bit since those changes, right? So maybe she's better than I think. I haven't seen her a ton. Yeah, at least over the last week or so, she's been sort of flopping around. I know she used to have a much lower win rate, like in the 40s, so maybe it was good. Maybe she is winning more. I've seen a couple of Kayles, but okay, I don't think it's gonna matter that much. Maybe it does. 5 extra damage on one of her abilities. But okay, cool. Lee Sin, a little bit extra health, Dragon's Rage. 25 extra damage on his kick early is pretty nice. So, be okay. I feel like Lee's alright. I feel like he's in a pretty balanced state. Like, he's good if you're good with him. I don't really think they needed to buff him, but maybe they just really want people to pick him at Worlds. He seems alright. Okay, Make It Rain. The slow, this is actually pretty relevant because when you hit them with the Make It Rain, that's when you usually channel your ult. So if they're a lot slower trying to walk out of your E, then they're obviously going to take a lot more damage from your ult. So I think that's a pretty good move. And especially because typically you only put 1 point in this. So yeah, that's solid. I don't think she's going to be amazing, but she's okay. I mean, she's lane bully, team fight. She can be okay. Nunu. Okay, so a little bit on his base stats are down. That's fine. Snowball Barrage. The slow is down a little bit. It's not going to matter too much, I don't think. I mean, usually you're slow enough to, like, catch them anyways. Or you slow them down enough to get away. You could max E second if you really need to. I think most people max Snowball second, the W, but it's fine. I mean, he has a really... I think he's the highest win rate. If he's not the highest win rate, then he's close. Okay, he's number 2 behind Jinx, so maybe he need to get nerfed a little bit. Whatever. I don't think it's going to matter that much. It's okay. Blinded Darts... Okay, quality of life stuff. So that stuff they were teasing about Teemo for like 6 months, they was like, nah. I mean, I'm kind of glad they didn't change it that way because I thought that was a lame direction, just like sneaking around, auto-attacking people. There's so many champions that already do that. I think they should play around the mushrooms a lot more. That's the most annoying part of him that people hate. That basically turns him into like a poke champion that's like zone of control and forces people to like have really good vision control to deal with him. So I like that. I think that's more unique. There aren't many other champions that do that. So I would like, if they want to buff him up, just increase the vision on the mushrooms so that they have like close to ward level vision. And then that would give him a lot of utility. He might even be an okay support if you do that, where you basically get a lot of free vision that the enemy can see and sweep. I mean, maybe even if they made the mushrooms visible, they could toy around with that. Or like, if you get close, then it tells you like a little exclamation point over your head or something like that you're close, even if it doesn't reveal it, so you know to be careful. I'm not really sure, but I think that something around the mushrooms would be better. Like, I know they don't want him to be too much damage because that could be too powerful and too frustrating, but I think that giving it vision would be enough to make him interesting. Like, just lower the cooldown on his move quick, and give him a lot more vision with his mushrooms, and he might actually be like, maybe there's a world where he could be an okay support. I don't know. But, you know, it's kind of torn between, like, usually people play him top lane as sort of a poke champion, and so they can't really increase his auto-attack range too much or anything like that, or, like, his poison damage, because that'd be too strong, probably, against some champs. But, yeah, I think playing around the traps, like, increasing the power on the traps in some way. I don't know, maybe if someone steps on a trap, or if they're already poisoned or something like that, then your auto-attacks do extra damage. Or something like that. I don't know. But I would play around him. The idea of him as a scout. He's a champion that gives a lot of vision. That has some utility with his mushrooms to slow people and do some poke damage. I would do something like that. Even if it's like make his mushrooms more detectable and allow him to have more mushrooms or give him more vision or whatever. Okay. Warwick actually gets bonus attack speed off of his W, so I guess it was bugged. So that is obviously a massive, massive buff. Because if he's using his W and he wasn't getting whatever the number is, like 80% attack speed, then that's huge. So, really big buff for Warwick there. He's okay in the meta. I think Warwick's alright. Maybe like B tier or something like that. Or like tier 2. I just always call it tier 1 and tier 2 because some people call it like we got an S tier, an S plus tier, an A plus tier, and it's just like such crazy grade inflation with these with a lot of these tier lists. I just call it tier 1 or tier 2 so it's easy to understand. Okay, base stats down, armored by 3 probably doesn't matter. Maybe a little bit. 20 extra seconds on the R does matter. You're going to be a lot less safe. But she does get Essence Reaver most of the time, so that'll get reduced a little bit. I've had her on my team several times over the last couple of days, and I still think she's really strong. So, you know, maybe it drops her from tier 1 to tier 2, but I still think she'll probably be tier 1, especially if you have a Rakan on your team. And then Zoe, please don't buff this champion anymore. This champion is so obnoxious to deal with, because her cooldowns are so low, and she can one-shot you so easily if she just gets a couple of items. Yeah, they're changing her more sparkles to give 6 more damage. This is probably okay, but I really wish if they want to give her more damage, put it in the skill shots. Like some of the things they had to nerf out were like the free hits that she gave out to people. You know, like the free damage where you could just RN an auto attack with Lichbane or something and just like do like 75% of someone's health even if you miss your bubble and your Q. So I would do something like if they want to give her more damage, make it conditional. Say you have to hit your Q to get this damage, or they have to fully fall asleep before you do the big damage. I think that she should not be able to one-shot someone unless they're asleep, basically. I think it should be, unless she's, like, ultra-fed. I think if it's someone who has, like, a similar level of gold, then she should have to hit her sleep before she kills them. Because that actually is on a fairly long cooldown. It's just the Q and her R are on a short cooldown. So if she just gets to sit there and keep trying to poke with her Q every time her R is up, and if she hits somebody and does like 90% of their health, I think that's really toxic because it's just too short of a cooldown for that much damage. But the bubble, if you hit the bubble to do the damage, I think that's worth. Screen shake. I think that's actually pretty cool. I like it. When like someone gets crit or like Garen ults somebody or something, I like the screen shake. It's pretty cool. Okay, sure. This other stuff doesn't matter too much. The Rakan skin is actually really cool, so special shout out to Wings of Shu for donating me the Rakan skin to play on stream. It's been a lot of fun. Yeah, basically a lot of people are complaining about Evelynn. Like I said, statistically, it doesn't seem to have mattered that much. Honestly, like people were tripping out, probably because some challengers were complaining about it. King Styx is probably loving it. I know he loves Evelynn. She's still not even 50%. I mean, I know that stats don't mean anything that much, but like, look at this. You know, she started, when did the patch drop? It was like 9, what, 10? 9, 11? 9, 10? I don't remember one of those days. She's actually down in win rate. Now, why is she down? Because a lot of people are playing her. So what does that tell me about her? That says that it's overhyped. A lot of people were just like, oh my gosh, it's really OP, I have to play it. This challenger player is saying it's like ridiculously OP. So it must have released on 9/11. Patch 8.12. Yeah. So people must have said, oh my god, it's OP, and then all of a sudden it drops in win rate a lot. So it's dropped down to 47% from like 51%. So yeah, that's because there's a lot of rookies playing it, but at the same time, that tells me that it's like not as insane as people thought. If it was actually insane, more people would be playing it, and the win rate would be up. But right now, it's inconsistent. So it is a good buff. It is a really good buff. I just don't think it's the end of the world. Is she annoying to play against? Sure. But there is counterplay to her charm. She can be destroyed. If you CC her or just catch her, she's squishy. She gets deleted. So yeah, I think it's definitely good. It's definitely a buff. It might be over the top, but I don't think it's like, oh my god, we all have to boycott League because it's insanely powerful. I mean, so yes, it's good. Ekko is another one that I think is a really good change. He was already pretty good, but a 2.25 second stun is pretty massive if you hit that in a fight, especially on multiple people. It's going to be lights out. Caitlyn not gonna matter. Akali, big nerf. Might still see her. I've seen her do very well if it's a good Akali, but yeah, average Akali is gonna be pretty rough. Aatrox probably out of the meta, maybe jungle. And that's pretty much it. Kai'Sa's still gonna be strong, a little bit weaker on the scaling late game, as long as she gets Stormrazor first. But yeah, Xayah is still gonna be strong. Anyways, that's going to be it. Thank you very much. Hope you enjoyed this. Be sure to like and subscribe if you did. I should have the tier list videos out for you soon. And come check out the stream. We stream every night starting around 9:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. I try to be as interactive and as friendly as possible. We just ongoing conversation, just constantly talking about League and sometimes other stuff as well. So come join the conversation. It's a lot of fun. And we'll see everybody next time. Have a good day.